Are you tired of your friends having to pull you out whenever you get stuck? Well, SuperATV's got the fix with our Black Ops line of winches, and today we're going to show you how to get one installed on this Honda Pioneer 1000. So let's get to it. So the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and remove the hood from the machine. Just grab a hold of our tabs, twist them, lift the hood off and remove it. We'll set it aside. And then, if we have a factory front bumper, we're gonna go ahead and remove it as well. We've already loosened our hardware, but you'll wanna remove this Allen-headed screw. And then the bolt that goes right through here into the frame. We've already removed it. And then there'll be two bolts back here. You wanna go ahead and remove those as well. And then you want to do that for both sides. The hardware is going to be in the same exact location on the opposite side. Once you removed all your hardware, just go ahead and remove your bumper. We'll just slide right out just like that, and we'll set it aside. So now we're going to go ahead and remove the four 10mm bolts securing the door to the machine. Then just remove the door. Then we're going to go through and remove all the push pins securing the fender to the machine. Once you've removed all the push pins, go ahead and remove the fender, set it aside. So the next thing we're gonna do is go ahead and remove our two lower bolts that secure the differential to the frame, as well as our two uppers. We've already got the two upper bolts removed from here and here. So we'll just go ahead and remove these lower two here. And then we're gonna grab this bracket, and we're going to install it to the frame of the machine using our M10 by 1.25 bolts provided in the kit. And we'll want to make sure that it's laying like this with our holes that have the slots in them for adjustment facing down. Just get them lined up in the frame. Go ahead and get them started in there. So we'll leave these loose enough to where they have a little bit of adjustment left in them. I like to go ahead and kind of run them down. So they'll still move around a little bit there for us. Then we're going to take our plate here, which is going to be our winch mount. So we'll take the plate like this so that the curved portion is facing up. The slotted holes here, and our four holes for our winch are down towards the bottom. And we'll slide it in. So now we know where our plate is going to lay. What we're going to do is this lower bracket here, we're going to go ahead and fully tighten it. Looks like ours is at the back of the adjustment, so as far back as it can go. We'll just go ahead and go through, fully tighten it, just hold our bracket back. And then we'll just go ahead and take our plate, slide it back into place, just like it was. And we'll take our M10 hardware with our nylock nuts. We'll go ahead and get it lined up. So now we're gonna go ahead and get our nut started on the back side of our bolt here. Once we have one side squared away, we're gonna go ahead and get our other bolt. We'll go over here to the opposite side, get it lined up. And we'll go ahead and get the hardware started over here. So once we have our hardware started, we'll go ahead and take the last of our two M10 by 1.25 bolts, and we'll thread them in to the frame right here. We'll just go ahead and get them both hands started. Once you have everything started, go through, fully tighten all your hardware, and then we're going to be installing our winch to the winch mount. So now we're going to go ahead and grab our winch out of our winch kit, as well as these bolts right here. We went ahead and grabbed them out of the hardware kit. They thread right into the bottom of the winch. And they'll come with a flat washer and a lock washer. We went ahead and put both of those on our bolt, so that way we can go ahead and get it installed. So what we're going to do is, we're going to take our winch and we're going to line it up perfectly with the holes here. And I like to start one bolt at a time. It just makes it a little bit easier than trying to hold it in place and start, you know, one over here and then one there. So we'll just get it slid into place. So now we're going to go ahead and go through and install the rest of the bolts to our winch. Make sure you get them all started before you tighten any of them. And once you have them all started, just go ahead and fully tighten them. So the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and grab our solenoid out of our winch kit. Find a good place to lay it. Obviously, you can put this anywhere you'd like. Just for ease of access and installation, today we're just going to install it right here. You know, this is about the only flat spot that we can get it to lay down flat in. So we're going to get it laid about where we want it. I'm going to go ahead and pop one hole down through the plastic here. So once we have one of our holes drilled, I like to go ahead and just kind of open the hole up a little bit more. It just makes it that much easier to get your screw down through there. So what I like to do then is go ahead, make sure one of our screws will go down through it. So we're good there. Screw will go down. So I'm gonna take my drill bit and just kind of scratch the spot on the plastic where we need to drill our next hole at. Right there is where we scratched our spot we need to drill. We'll just line both of our holes up. Should just drop right into place like that with no issue. And it did. So then we're going to get in our hardware bag. We want to find the super small nut. So this nut right here, just like that. And you'll have two small washers, one lock and then one flat, and then the same hardware for the other screw. Whenever you put your washers on, you'll put your flat, your lock, and then your nut. We'll just reach down underneath to the bottom side here, start our nut, and then fully tighten the hardware. So the next thing we're gonna do is go ahead and start feeding our wires down to our winch. So there's a hole right here. As you can see, we've already fed one of our wires down through it. We'll just start feeding it a little bit more down there to the point to where we can get it to connect it to the winch. So we'll take our other wire, once we've started the other one, start feeding it down through same hole as we did the yellow wire. And then you'll just have to get down underneath. And a lot of times you can't see where your wire's coming through at, you just gotta kind of feel. So I found this one. So I'm just gonna continue pulling it. And then, looks like we're on the wrong side of some hoses here. So I'm gonna reach my hand in here and grab a hold of this wire. Pull it on the right side of the hoses. Just makes it a lot cleaner. And I want both my wires to be running together. And then we'll go right up through here on top of this frame rail. And we'll just feed our wires all the way down to our winch. This yellow wire here, we'll go ahead and, we're not gonna make the connection completely, we're just gonna throw the wire on there. That way we know how much slack we need to cut off on the top side. So we'll just let it lay like that. And we'll come down here to the bottom, do the same kind of thing. So now in this next step, you have two options. One, you can cut down your wires and attach them directly to your solenoid, or if you don't feel comfortable cutting down your wires, you can feed them back down towards the bottom of the machine, coil them up, put some zip ties on them, make sure they're out of the way, and then make your connection. But we're gonna go ahead and cut them down, so we're gonna make sure that we have enough wire that we can make our connections. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cut my wire off right about here. Gives me enough excess to make my connection. So we went ahead and cut both of our wires off and make sure that we put heat shrink on the connections. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our yellow wire and we're gonna attach it to our yellow stud. Each stud will have a dab of paint on the end of the threads to let you know what color and they match up with the wire. So we'll go ahead and pull both our washers off. Take our wire. Slide it down. And pull one up like that. Go ahead and reinstall our washers. Flat washer, then lock washer, of course. So we'll hook our blue wire into our blue post. We're not going to fully tighten any of our connections yet, just in case we got to rotate one around or anything like that. So I just like to go ahead and get everything started. So we'll just start our nut. So once we have these wires started, then we're going to start looking to get our all-time power source and our all-time ground. So the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and grab our black as well as red wires. And we're going to attach them to the battery. This side right here, closest to the driver's side, will be the negative side or the ground on the battery. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my wire and route it back through here behind the battery. All the way up. And then I've already went ahead and loosened my connections on my battery here. So just go ahead and completely unscrew it. Unscrew the bolt. And we're going to stick this connection on the bottom. And let's go ahead and thread it back in there. To get it started, we'll kind of position our wire how we want it. And next we're going to be connecting it to the black stud, which will be this stud right here. If you mounted your solenoid in the same position as us, as close as it is to the battery, I highly recommend that you cut down your positive and negative wires that are going to be running to the solenoid. Just because we send quite a bit, there's not really enough room up here to store it. Obviously, if you've got your solenoid mounted somewhere else, you can do whatever you like with your wires. So we'll go ahead and cut off our excess here. That one. And we'll go ahead and do the same thing with our hot wire here. This one, we're just going to kind of lay it up to it. Obviously it's a hot wire, so we don't necessarily want to lay it on there because that's going to make the wire hot, and we don't want to ground anything out. So I'm just going to run the wire just like this. It's going to connect there. I'm going to put my connector here and it's going to connect right to the top of the solenoid. So we'll cut it off a little on the heavy end just in case. And now we'll just go ahead and pull our ground wire back off. We'll crimp both of our connectors on, just like we did for our other two wires. So the next thing we're gonna do after we have our connections made and our heat shrink on, both of our wires, we're gonna go ahead and start making our connections. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna start feeding my wire back the way that I showed you. First time that we check to see the length. Just kind of make sure it's routed nice and clean. I'll go ahead and remove our screw again. Pick it up. Lay our ground wire on there. Just kind of hand tighten it. And then we're going to make our connection to our solenoid here. So now we have our ground wire attached. Now we're going to go ahead and attach the hot wire. And I'm going to go ahead and put an insulator on the end that's going to the solenoid. That way there's no chance of it arcing off of any of the other wires. And once we have everything laying how we want them, let's go ahead and fully tighten all the hardware. Just whenever you're doing this, just be careful. You know, you don't want to arc anything out. If you're using a wrench, obviously be extra careful because it's easier to take this wrench. And if I was to overturn it and ground it out, it's going to spark. It could potentially burn your solenoid up or shock you. Just be careful. Take your time. Make sure your wire stays laying how you want it. It doesn't have to be super tight, but obviously you want it so the wire isn't going to move around freely. Today we decided to go ahead and install one of our SuperATV rocker switches. It comes ready to go. It's going to plug right into the wire coming off the solenoid. The Honda Pioneer isn't equipped with any dash mounted rocker switch holes, so we went ahead and measured 35 millimeters up and 21 millimeters across. Now we may have to do a little bit extra trimming, but you know, that's what you need to measure. Again, 21 millimeters across, 35 up. We decided to put it right here. So we're gonna go ahead and cut a slot into our dash. What I like to do is take a lighter, heat up my blade. It just makes the cut through the plastic that much easier. So once we've got our hole cut, just kind of go around, clean it up a little bit. There'll be a little bit of fragmentation from the plastic there. Just kind of get the burrs and stuff off there. And we'll take our rocker switch, start feeding our wire through. And we may have to do some more trimming, so we're just going to check to make sure it's going to fit first. Right there, see it fits. So now we're gonna grab our wires, and now you're gonna see why we removed our fender and our door, because we're gonna start routing this wire here up to our solenoid and then connect our keyed on power source. So now that we have our rocker switch installed, we have our harness ran through the dash here. We're gonna go behind the bracket for the power steering. If you look, you'll see an opening through there. We're just going to start feeding the wire. Just going to feed the wire all the way through. We'll have a ton of excess, which is fine. We'll make our connection and then we'll start pulling some of the excess wire back. So we need to figure out how we want our wire to be routed. So I think I'm going to route mine down below through here. And we can make our connection here at the solenoid. So we'll just slip together. And take this little jam nut and it just hand tightens. Then we'll have this red wire that's coming off of our harness here. That's going to need to be connected to a keyed on power source. So the Pioneer is a little bit more difficult to get a keyed on power source from. So as you can see here, we've tapped into the wire on the back side of the 12-volt outlet that comes on the dash. And we've tapped in to the hot wire. That wire is going to be white. So we'll take our red wire and connect it to the white wire. We added some wire to the kit just to make it a little bit easier. Now we know we have some excess. But what we're going to do is, now that we've made our connection here to the solenoid, we're going to pull some of our excess wiring for a rocker switch back up underneath the dash, kind of tidy it up a little bit, see where it's going to lay, and then we'll make this connection here Again, this red wire is going to the back of the 12-volt outlet on the dash. This is the one that's coming out of our rocker switch that we got from SuperATV.com. So we'll start pulling some of our excess wiring back. Just pull it through like that. Make sure it's laying how we want it up here. So we got it laying down. Just continue to pull it. You want it to be pretty tight, just like that. So what I'm going to do with all the excess wire, I'm just going to coil it up nice and neatly. Put a zip tie around it to hold it all together. And cut off our excess, our zip tie. So we'll take another zip tie. Just find a good place to tie it to. Looks like there is a hole right here in the dash. We'll use it. Slide my zip tie down through it. So now we're going to go ahead and make our connection. But I'm going to feed this wire down underneath all this wiring up here on the dash just to make it look a little bit nicer, a little bit cleaner. We'll just pull all this through. We'll make our connection right in this vicinity here. So as you can see, we got quite a bit of excess wire. Cut this wire off right here. We'll take wiring crimps here. Go ahead and skim this wire back. Do the same thing here. We'll skim this wire back as well. And we just have a straight connector here. Just twist these wires, get them clean. We'll go ahead and slide this side into the connector. I like to go ahead and just crimp it a little bit so it'll stay in place. Just like that. Wire will stay in there just enough until we can get this other side. The wire in there. Just like this. Make sure we have a solid connection here, pulling each side of the wire. So once we have our connection made here, we're gonna go down to our winch. And we haven't tightened our hardware yet or put our insulators on. So we're gonna go ahead and take our insulators, take the wire off, just slide the insulator on there, just like that. You gotta kind of wiggle it on. That. Lay your washer down, and your nut. And just wiggle your insulator down over your connection. Just like that, and then repeat the same step for the bottom connection. The next thing we're gonna do is grab our bumper and install the fair lead to it. We're gonna grab the Allen-headed hardware provided in the kit, as well as the lock washer, flat washer, and nut. So what we'll do is we'll just drop our Allen-headed screws down through these holes, line it up, just like that. Then we'll take a flat washer, slide it on, and a lock washer, and a nut. Then all you gotta do is just fully tighten them and then repeat the same step for the other side of the fair lead. Next, we're gonna go ahead and reinstall our bumper. We're just gonna take our winch rope, slide it through a fair lead just like that. Just go ahead and kind of pull some slack. Keep pulling it as you go to slide your bumper back into the channel. You just want to get slid in the position here. And we'll take these bolts here and slide them through the tubes. We'll just get everything lined up. Then just install your factory bolts. Then we'll install our bottom bolt on this side that goes into the threaded portion of the frame here. And we'll take our Allen headed hardware that attaches the front fascia to the bumper. Just get it lined up, get it all started. Then we'll go ahead and repeat the same steps on the opposite side and then fully tighten all our bumper hardware. So you're gonna go ahead and install your stop block. You'll have a baggie that's gonna have some Allen head screws in it with some flat washers and nylock nuts. The head of your screw will go through one side, then you'll have your flat washer and your nylock. The open end should be facing away from the machine. The flat end will face towards the machine. So you'll just go through. These don't need to be super tight because they're nylock. But what I do is just take an Allen socket, or you can take an Allen wrench and just go through and just fully tighten them. So we got them all tight. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna get our Clevis hook. It'll have a cotter pin in it. We'll just go ahead and remove the cotter pin to remove the pin out of the Clevis hook here. There's the pin, grab the rope, and then slide the pin through there like that. Reinstall your cotter pin, slide it in there, and then just bend it away from itself, just like that. And you'll take your pull strap, slide it on, just like this. Good deal. So that's what it should look like right here. So now we're gonna go inside, make sure our winch is working good, and then we're gonna show you how to use your remote. So now we're gonna turn our key on, our rocker switch illuminates, and our winch goes out as well as in. So now we're gonna show you how to use your remote. All we did was take the 3 screws out and pull the tab out from underneath one of the batteries. So it's ready to go now. We're just gonna press down and hold on both of the buttons, and now you'll see a red indication light. And there you have it. That's how super easy it is to install SuperATV's winch and winch mount on this Honda Pioneer 1000. For more information on the winch or winch mount or any of SuperATV's great products, feel free to give us a call at 855-743-3427 or check us out online at superatv.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.